just starting my presentation. So I'm Dr. Vivek Srivastava, working assistant professor at PGIFER, Kamden University. Today, my topic of presentation is water quality management for aquarium fishes. So this is like we have I saw the list. So many BFS, CMFS students are there. So many my seniors as well as my mentors, teachers are there. So we have read about ornamental fishes. We have understand what all fishes are there, and this breeding and their feeding and all these things. So we come across always water quality. So and we know this what is the ranges and all these things. But today I just wanted to make it in a different way. I just wanted to focus the dynamics, actually, what is happening there under the water between the parameters. I just try to focus on that. So hope you will enjoy it. So as an introductory part, I am having a slide where in one side I have kept a few guys who are holding some masks, and in the next side I am having one cartoon of one fish which is trying to jump from one ecosystem to another ecosystem. So this is actually what I just try to depict, that today we are living in the COVID era reason, and we are having, what is the main thing happen by that we are compelled to wear mask. We are aware that corona can infect. That's why we are just trying to keep or creating a safe environment for us. But that is not the case with fishes. Means we are keeping in our home, and after that their environment is like our environment is air surrounding us, their environment is water surrounding us. If our air is not okay, we are going to suffocate, it may harm us, maybe we will be in the stress, and finally we will be diseased. Similar things happening for fishes, but the environment is water. I'm audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, clearly.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so with this background, I just wanted to give some outlines of that water quality. So as we are knowing that water quality includes all physicals, chemical, biological. They are just characteristic which regulates the suitability for maintaining fish. It's not about ornamental, it's all about all fishes. Further, poor water quality is the most common cause which may develop morbidity and mortality in the pet animals. And finally, initially, this will create stress, and when fish will try to just fight with that stress, and ultimately, if it will able to fight, or before that it will able to water quality will be okay, then it will be normal. Otherwise, it will lead to a decision, finally, mortality. Hello. Shall I continue?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. So water quality should be some disturbance. Okay, so water quality, and one thing we need to be very much we need to keep in mind during keeping aquarium, we need to perform our water quality regular of time, because as I already mentioned, this is our environment, surrounding environment. It must be okay, it must be clear. If we are having clean and clear water, our fish is going to be healthy and always happy. So water quality should be monitored weekly, and the record must be maintained. The record, why should we maintain the record? Generally, fish keepers, they are not maintaining the records. While maintaining the records, we can come across what was the thing, and we can trace the history, in fact. Okay, so with this next slide, and a part of that, we need to understand one more thing, that each species, like so many, Sajid sir taken very wonderful presentation in that we came across so many fishes are there. People are having different choice, goldfish, guppy, molly, then angel, and all these things, cichlids, and so many fishes are there. They are having different optimal range. Some fishes, they like low pH, some fishes like hard water, some fishes like soft water. So whatever, we need to plan that which fish we are going to keep. According to that, we should understand their water quality parameters. By that only, we cannot keep a cichlids with normal fishes, right? A part of that, second point is that we need to keep, for keeping aquarium, poor husbandry practices such as overcrowding. We should not do this, because overcrowding is a major problem, especially in aquarium, because it is in front of us, and we will give so much of feed while thinking, oh, my fish, my cute fish, and we are putting some feed, and again somebody else is coming who's giving feed. So much of feed will be there inside the ecosystem, which may ultimately deteriorate the water quality. A part of that overcrowding, we must understand the carrying capacity of a aquarium. We must go with we must understand how much stocking density and which size of fish we must keep in the our aquarium. Inadequate water flow or filtration predisposes. A part of that, we need to understand there should be a proper filtration system in our aquarium. Then, if at all, while keeping all these things, definitely nothing is going to be a problematic in the future. But if we did not care about water, what may the possibilities? The possibilities may be aquatic or chronic stress. Aquatic, as we all are aware, aquatic means instant. If it is highly like ammonia developed, so much of like hydrogen sulfide ammonia developed, it may kill your fish immediately. Whereas chronic, first of all, the fish will be in the stress, then it will slowly it will die, and they will reduce the immune system, and further some opportunistic pathogens they will they can come on that fishes. So with the next slide, actually, this is a very general range what we are keeping for so many fishes for our aquarium. So temperature, it must be in the range of 24 to 30 degrees centigrade. The DO must be more than 5. pH 6.5 to 8.5. Total hardness must be 100 to 200 ppm. Total alkalinity 550 to 300 milligram. Ammonia and nitrite, you can see here nil, but in our culture, like commercial fish on Katla, Rohu and all other, we are having some range. But especially our ornamental fishes, they are very delicate. They don't want to see ammonia in their system, because ammonia will definitely either they will impact on their fin, color, and immune system. So generally, most probably, ammonia should not be in our aquarium. Nitrite as well, whereas carbon dioxide must be less than 50 milligram. Then TSS, less than 50. TSS basically for marine aquariums or brackish water aquarium and where plant communities is there. So, okay, this is the background and some introduction. After that, I would like to just discuss dynamics of especially few important parameters which is really makes which will decide the fate of the fishes and aquarium well-being. So in that, in my opinion, temperature is the most important thing, not only the fishes, for everything. So I will begin with the temperature. Thank you. I will begin with the temperature I just try to correlate two parameters together, because this is water quality. We cannot see one thing individually. Of course, they are individually. Temperature is different, DO is different, ammonia is different, but we need to correlate the things. By that, we can understand it in a better way. So here means that the title is Dynamics of Temperature and DO. These two are going together. How it will be, as we are knowing that fishes are poikilothermic organism, means they are adjusting their temperature with the surrounding. Generally, if we'll see, this is general statement, only freshwater tropical prefer generally 75 to 80 degree Fahrenheit, whereas marine 70 to 84. Then, but this is due to certain experiments, it found that marine tropical fishes are more sensitive to temperature change rather than the freshwater. See here, temperature difference is another thing. Temperature change is there. Means if there is a change between, means a sudden change in a small interval of time, that may cause much more problematic, because fish will not get acclimatization time. So this is small about temperature. Whereas DO, how DO is related with the temperature. Temperature decrease. As the temperature increase, the carrying capacity of oxygen decrease, solubility of oxygen decrease in that. That's why if there is high temperature, DO will reduce, and it may cause some problem to the fishes. Whereas ideal range, I will see this more in most of the fishes is more than 5 or 6 ppm. So basically, these two. My slides are visible. Hello.
Yeah, clearly,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So it means these two very simple equations, but this is the base of all the available, I should say, living being on earth, in water, on land, everything. This is two equations, simple equation we have learned from our childhood, in fact, 6th, 7th, in fact. That is photosynthesis and respiration. So we'll see this equation in that we are utilizing carbon dioxide, water, source of energy, light, and finally a glucose molecule is forming and oxygen is releasing. How this oxygen, whatever we are inhaling, whatever the fish are inhaling in water bodies, whatever we are inhaling, this oxygen through photosynthesis as a byproduct we are getting. Similarly, respiration is just opposite reaction. Here we are utilizing this, we are releasing carbon dioxide. So this is just very important equations, biological information equations, and they means their output byproduct. I should say this is very important. That is oxygen and carbon dioxide, and this will be much more complicated when it will go to the water bodies. How will say? See, dissolved oxygen and water temperature, they are having, with just wanted to make clear with this graph, this there is a diurnal variation we can see in DO and water temperature. We can see in one side we are having 0 to 15, this level of oxygen, and black side we are having temperature 25 to 31. We can see both are moving together. Like initially in the morning, both level is low. DO is very low early in the morning. Similarly, temperature is early, temperature also early in the temperature is also low early in the morning. Why it is happening? Because we know if we are considering this in water body, we are having a pond, their community, water means plant community, fish community, all together. We are knowing that in night there won't be any photosynthesis. So there won't be any photosynthesis. So there won't be any generation of oxygen in the night time. All the organism, including plant or animals or fishes, whatever there, they will consume that oxygen, and the level of carbon dioxide will increase. That's why this early in the morning, this DO level will be low. Similarly, a sun is rising, and it will be up to 10 or 12 for noon. It will be at high positions, so that all the planktons and all these things, they will also start to generate oxygen through photosynthesis. Similarly, that peak will come in mid-afternoon, some 2 to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and further it will be. So we can see there is a simultaneously movement of oxygen and water temperature. I'm talking about this in pond ornamental pond culture system, and everything. And we'll see. So this is like temperature and dissolved oxygen dynamics. I'm sorry. So this water temperature also, we can see generally in summer, we will see that fishes are active, whereas winter they are not, because temperature support fishes for their growth, for their activeness, but up to a certain level only. We'll see generally in shrimp farmers and fish farmers and ornamental also, our fish, they can eat actively in summer time. Why? Because because temperature allow to good metabolic further, based on that they will feed, and by that they will get growth as well. Whereas in winter, they means fishes will try to sit at a corner because they wanted to conserve energy as they are poikilothermic organism. So that is the temperature. But after a certain period of time, when temperature cross a level, then that metabolic will increase so much, and after that there means the DO level also, that solubility of gases, solubility of oxygen also will reduce. By that, fish will start to suffocate, and it will come under stress, and by that they'll leave feeding as well. So this is the dynamics of DO and temperature. Then apart of that, this particularly picture is very much helpful for the temperate region, where that we are culturing our mass culture of this ornamental fishes. We are having 3 layers zone, that is epilemion, thermelion, hypolemelion. Generally, we can see in epilemion we are having high temperature and high dissolved oxygen, whereas at the bottom we can call it the stratification of the layer. Generally, it is seeing in the temperate region, and deep ponds, and then low dissolved oxygen and low temperature in the hypolemelion. So these kind of things we need to break during and temperate regions. We don't have that problem in our India, this particularly. So this is all about DO and temperature. And finally, these 3 things. Again, here temperature is in the picture. This is another slide which I just wanted to correlate pH, ammonia, and temperature. Because temperature, as I already mentioned, is a very important thing. It will regulate each and every parameters the way it want. So we will see how it will correlate. So pH, we know that what is pH? pH is the measurement of the hydrogen ion concentration. We are having 7 pH. We are considering it's neutral. Then less than 7 acidic. pH more than 7, this alkaline. Where ideal pH for most of the fishes means that this 5.5 to 8.5. I have covered almost all the fishes, where it is cichlids and all these things, everything. Marine aquarium, they required a pH of 8 to 8.5. So this is pH, some basic information. We are having a pH scale at the bottom. Now we'll see that's how ammonia we will go in the details, just some correlations I'm telling. More ammonia is present in the toxic form. We know that ammonia is having total ammonia. We are telling total ammonium nitrogen. Total ammonium nitrogen, basically they are two part. I mean, it's a classified into two halves. That is one ammonia and another is ammonium ion. So we can say this is associated, unionized or ionized. So basically here unionized toxic, because that will enter in the gills and it will enter into the bloodstreams and finally it will cause the mortality. So apart of that, another thing we need to understand, slow change in pH are best. If there is a change in pH, suppose if there is change pH, as we have seen from morning to evening, pH change regularly. But if the change of pH is slow, it will cause less stress to the fish. Finally, water with low alkalinity is more likely to undergo pH fluctuation. Apart of that, this pH is indirectly dependent upon the alkalinity that we will see further slides. So if our alkalinity means we need to work more on alkalinity rather than the pH, because if alkalinity will change frequently, pH definitely will change. We'll see how it will. So this is the few slides to just to make you introduce with this. So we'll see this dynamics of pH and temperature. What is the relation we can see? So this is almost inverse relation. As temperature is increasing, pH is decreasing, we can say. So if temperature, so we'll see if temperature is 10, we are having a pH of 7.3 or 4 something. If we are having a temperature of 30, we are having further decrease in temperature, it will come below neutral. If we are further increasing temperature 40, our pH is going towards the acidic side. So it is again harmful if temperature is increasing, pH decreasing, and both the things is harmful for our organism. So this is what I have discussed. Again, just the brief of that. I just wanted to tell about the ammonia. Then we'll see the interactions. Ammonia is the primary nitrogenous waste product of fishes. What it causes, it damages gill tissue, reducing the resulting in hyperplasia, hypertrophy, and decreasing O2 absorptions. Further, what is happening in this aquatic system? This nitrifying bacteria oxidize ammonia to nitrite and nitrate. This you all are aware that there is a new tank syndrome kind of thing which is happening generally when we are building a new aquarium or we are just keeping our fishes in a cemented tank. So what is happening? New tank syndrome is this new tank pond that lack nitrifying bacteria. As we are aware that it takes some time to develop nitrifying bacteria. So that accumulation of nitrogenous compound will be there. So in that case, maybe the fishes may die early because there won't be any nitrifying bacteria. By that, there won't be any nitrification. So ammonia level will increase and fish may die. So it is advisable in new tanks you just use biofilters. By that you can develop more nitrifying bacteria early. So so this is something which I have already mentioned. Two forms of ammonia from the 10, that is ammonium and non-ionized ammonia. In that, our non-ionized form, as I already mentioned, this is toxic. So ammonia is more toxic in warm water at higher pH, and this is again very important. Ammonia is more toxic in warm water, I have mentioned, at higher pH and in decreasing salinity. So this is something we will understand with this graph. So this is simply just I have prepared a slide to make you aware of this how this component ammonia and this ionized and non-ionized ammonia, it will vary with the temperature and pH as well, I should say. So you can see this graph. We are having black dots, big structure, and triangle one. So a triangle one, this is basically we have seen a temperature of 20 degrees centigrade, whereas the dark black part, that is at the temperature of 30 degrees centigrade. You can see initially when like up to 7.5 something, you don't have any problem if the temperature is 20 and 30. But as pH is increasing, suppose the pH is 8.2 at the bottom, means I'm telling about x-axis, you just say at the bottom 8.2, you can start to distinguish the changes when the temperature is 20 degrees centigrade and 30 degrees centigrade. At 20 degrees centigrade, we are having low ammonia. whereas at the same pH, at higher temperature, we are having high ammonia. It means that as the pH is increasing, the concentration of harmful unionized part is also increasing with increased temperature. So here the conclusion is this. First thing is that unionized part of ammonia is more toxic. Second part is that it will increase with increasing in temperature. Third is that it will increase with increasing in pH. So if our temperature is increasing, pH is increasing. If our temperature is increasing and if our pH is increasing, the chances of mortality of our fish will be very high. So what we need to understand by that, we need to keep our aquarium at safest place where there won't be any direct sunlight or temperature must be low. Then you can see in pictures, this is also means just percentage of total ammonium nitrogen. You can see at the up temperature 0°C, whereas the side value, this is pH. You can see at 7 pH, first line, first row and column, you just see at 10°C, we are having a value of ammonia 0.18. Further, in the same raw, if the temperature is increasing, we are having a value of 0.91 at the temperature of 32°C. So you can see how drastically it is increasing the harmful component if the temperature is increasing at the same pH. In fact, you are having same pH if temperature is increasing, even though this ammonia make harmful impact, it will increase drastically. So, and this is the general nitrifying cycle, which is common in all aquatic ecosystem. Generally, food and uneaten food or excreta, which is converted into the ammonia. And finally, when ammonia is oxidized, it will convert into the nitrite, and nitrite will convert into the nitrate with the help of here ammonia to nitrate. We are having some nitrifying bacteria, Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacters. And finally, this nitrate, which was capable, which may convert into the nitrogen gas, as well as they are capable to take by the plants and some plants as well. So this is some important facts about nitrite and nitrate. That ammonia is oxidized to nitrite, as we know, and Nitrosomonas and other microbes played a part in that. But here we can see that nitrite is also very harmful to the organism, as they are absorbed by the gills and oxidize the hemoglobin, means that blood component, to methemoglobin. By that, there will be disease happening, and there are all chances that fish will die. So this is equally harmful. Nitrite must be minimum at our aquarium, in aquarium ecosystem. So because it's oxidized hemoglobin to methemoglobin, whereas nitrate is not a such problem, because but again, this is a problem in eggs and fry stage, initial stage, because this stage are sensitive to the nitrate as well. So we can see this this graph is very beautifully showing that how these nitrogenous compounds are converting in the presence of bacteria and oxygen as well. So we can see initially, suppose we have built aquarium, and after that we have just put some fishes in that, and we have started feeding them and some excretion. So initially ammonia will build. You can see 0 to 10 days. 0 to 10, we suppose 0th day, it will take some time, 4 or 5 days to build some ammonia, and further it will increase. And after that, at the 11th or 12th day, some component, means ammonia on ammonia, some bacteria, they will attack on some oxidized conditions, they will start to convert it to the nitrate. So we can see ammonia will continue, and after that ammonia will continue to grow, and after peak, before just peak, in fact I should say, that nitrite development, nitrite will develop. The second nitrogenous compound, nitrite, will come into the picture, and it will increase. And similarly, when ammonia is at the end level, then nitrile will start to convert into the nitrate. So you can see, if we are having in time zone, we can say 0 to 60th day, we can say at the end of the experiments, at the end of the period, we are having so much of nitrate in our system, because Remember, if there is no continuous source of food and feeding, because if it is a continuous feeding and all these things, so this cycle will continue and this will remain always. So this is how means overall initially ammonia, then nitrite, and then nitrate will grow into our ecosystem. So this is about ammonia, temperature, and pH. Now, three more important things which we must understand very, very in a deep sense. That is hardness, alkalinity, and pH. We know that hardness and alkalinity, they are like brother and sister, or I should say, in that more important alkalinity. Alkalinity is having a buffering action. Buffering action, we all are aware. Buffering action means to resist the change. To whatever the changes there, no, we don't want to make any changes. Whatever it is there, you just be there. They are playing that role here. A part of that hardness and alkalinity and pH, they are closely associated. We will see how it will be. So if we'll see hardness, they are basically contributed by the divalent, in especially calcium and magnesium and the associated ions. So basically, when we are talking about hardness, calcium and magnesium are primary, and based on that, we have categorized certain water bodies. So in that, if we are having you can see one table on the top, that is soft, moderately soft, slight hard, moderately hard, hard, very hard, and all. So generally for aquaculture, ornamental purposes, we are having moderately, we are just preferring moderately soft water, 50 to 100 or 150 like that. So we are having a water of 50 to 100. Then we can go for fish, we can go for aquarium keeping and all. Because see, if we are keeping an aquarium, if we don't know these data and all these things, from the very first day problem will start. So better we should understand water quality, we should take the particular optimum range, and then we can go for that. So this is like moderately soft, 50 to 100, and it is moderately hard water is required for these ornamental fishes. And then suppose if there is a change in that, suppose if there is a increase or decrease in there, so we need to increase the hardness. We generally prefer gypsum. Why so? Because other agents are there, but we used to prefer gypsum. Why? Because it will not disturb the alkalinity. As I already mentioned, alkalinity and hardness, they are having a very close relationship. We will try to improve one, other will also improve or decrease or increase. So if we wanted to improve hardness alone, we must go for the gypsum treatment. Apart of that, if we wanted to reduce hardness from a system, we must go for RO system, or better we can go for a RAS system. By that we can recirculate the water, we can save the water as well. So this is a small introduction about hardness. Now second thing, the brother of hardness, that is alkalinity. Basically it is a carbonate and bicarbonate and their associated product. In that, carbon dioxide also playing very important role. So what is the function of alkalinity? That is buffering capacity. We know that, and you can see this fourth circle. This is fourth and fifth circle is very important. As I already mentioned, that alkalinity is closely associated with pH. So we are having 100 to 150 total alkalinity. We are having a pH range between 7.5 to 9. But if we are having a total alkalinity less than 20, you can see the range become very vast, 6.5 to 10. So you are checking your pH, but your alkalinity is very less than 20. So automatically you will go extreme acidic side and extreme alkaline side. So that's why I told, instead of checking pH, we must take care always about alkalinity. So this alkalinity can be increased with lime. So this is again a small introduction about alkalinity and associated relation. So this is a picture which is showing the relationship between alkalinity and hardness. So as I already mentioned, alkalinity is total titrable base, basically contributed by bicarbonate and carbonate, where hardness is a total divalent salt, calcium and magnesium. And they are having, means to how they are performing buffering action. They are just associated with calcium, associated with magnesium, and when the time required, they will dissociate it. By that, they are having a internal dynamics according as per the situation. They are doing that. So they are coming up with the several different, this products, calcium bicarbonate, calcium carbonate, magnesium bicarbonate, magnesium carbonate, like that. They are associated and dissociated as per the pH or as per the requirement. So we can see this graph is showing that strong relation of alkalinity and pH. So what is this? We can see this is carbon dioxide when free carbon dioxide, or we can see after during night when every organisms are taking oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. During that time, we heard several times during early in the morning, we lost so many fishes. Why it is happening? Well, first is DO low, second temperature is low, and third pH is also low. You can see CO2, if CO2 is maximum in the aquatic system, what will happen? It will react with water and form carbonic acid. And that carbonic acid will reduce the pH. So we can see here in the first column of this wave, you can see H2O, and free carbon dioxide, you are having a range that is 4 to 5. That is not optimum for our fishes. Similarly, when the day will increase or this alkalinity will start its buffering action, we will have bicarbonate in our system, and that is required actually. Bicarbonate must be in the system for the optimum or the sustainable growth of our fish. If we can succeed to maintain bicarbonate in the system, our pH will always lie between 7 to 8, 7 to 9. That is what optimum we require. Further dissociation, we are having higher pH carbonate. So this is like how this pH and alkalinity is related. And a part of that, I have already mentioned in that second, third circle. I just stressed on third and fourth circle. This low alkalinity and moderate alkalinity. You can see the difference, clear difference here. We are having at y-axis, you are having on y-axis pH and on x-axis time, whereas this dark line is telling low alkalinity, whereas the dotted line is moderate alkalinity. You can see that low alkalinity is having a very high fluctuation, means high fluctuation of pH. You can see 7 to 9, whereas moderate alkalinity, you are having a small fluctuation. You can see 8 to 8.5. So that's why I'm telling, if sudden fluctuation will be there, it will cause to the fishes. A part of that, we must have a moderate alkalinity in our system. By that, our pH fluctuation will also moderate, and it won't harm any fishes. So actually, this is some important mechanism or dynamics. I just wanted to make you before you, so again, some things which we are always take care in our life, as well as in commercial, as well as ornamental, everywhere these BMPs are very important. So I just wanted to put you some BMPs methods which we must always take care during keeping aquarium, or we can go for ornamental business as well. So what are the BMPs we need to BMP? First, as thing what I just mentioned, source of the water. We must be very careful about the source of the water. It must be good and sufficient availability of the water must be there, and there should be a practice estimation of total water requirement. We need to initially estimate how much water we required, and if possible, exchange 20% water per day. These are the part of BMPs I'm telling. Then measure the potential of the water source, means you need to understand what all the parameters of this, what are the optimum ranges this. Then quality testing of the source water and optimum range of important quality water. And we need to keep some, in fact, there's some water testing kits as well as to test our water, especially source of water. Then second, water temperature, as I already mentioned, and we need to decide in prior that which species we are going to keep or culture, by that how much temperature it can tolerate, and what will be the impact on metabolism. Such kind of things. So temperature, you must take care about different species. This is simple things. I'm not going to just read this. So then temperature and this pH also we need to understand how pH will work. That we are knowing fish blood pH is generally in range from 7.4, and then optimum we are keeping 6.5 to 8.5. So we must be ready, or we must learn how to we can correct simple, means if there is a deflection in pH. So generally means for low pH, we are just providing calcium carbonate in aquariums 30 to 50 milligram per liter, whereas high aluminum sulfate we can use. If our pH is high in our aquarium, we can go for aluminum sulfate or alum, we can say, at the rate of 5 to 10 milligram per liter. But we need to be very careful when we are treating with higher pH. Why? Because If we are having a total alkalinity above 20, then only we can go for aluminum sulfate. Otherwise, what will happen? It will drastically reduce the pH. If we are having low alkalinity, we must not go aluminum sulfate as a treatment. If we are having high alkalinity, we can go to treat higher pH. And if at all you don't have any options, so you just go for aluminum sulfate plus calcium carbonate 50-50. Then you need to understand the soil pH also. If there is a base of soil in your aquarium, then again this DO, in the very important point, we need to understand only when we are using groundwater DO, because so many places you are having a very low concentration of DO in the groundwater, 2 to 3 milligram per liter, and we are just taking that and we are putting the fishes in that, and fish will start to die because of the low level of, a part of that, so much of heavy metal contamination is there. And so we need to be care when you are taking, when you are checking, when you are taking especially groundwater for aquarium culture, aquarium purpose. So super saturation, as well as sometimes we are having, oh, our fish is poor fish, we will provide so much of dissolved oxygen or oxygen to these fishes, so we will keep our aquarium or our pump always on, or we will put high pressure pumps. By that, what will happen? Small fishes, they can engulf those oxygen bubble, and they can develop a disease what called gas bubble disease. So we must understand, we must regulate our pump system. We must see, regularly monitor our fishes as well. Okay, if there is a, underneath bubbles are there, so by that we can avoid this problem. Then suspended solid as well. So so many times you can see so much of, in the night, so much of dirt, or that your water can be water, you will get up in the morning, you will see this water is milky, or some turbid is there. So you just regularly just see the transparency. If it is 20 to 35, it is okay. If it's less than 15, you just stop feeding. Stop, if plant community is there in your aquarium, you just stop manuring and fertilizations. And if it is more than 40 centimeter, if this clean water is there, you just apply all these things. A part of that, turbidity may be because of ammonia also. You can just exchange water. That will be an easy and simple method. And ammonia, as I already mentioned, so this is like I already mentioned, but still I just wanted to, because it's important thing, that high temperature, high pH, stress mortality, then low temperature, low pH, relatively safe. Because in high temperature, high pH, we are having high free unionized ammonia, and low ammonia, that is low ionized ammonia. So how we can get rid of ammonia? We are having only one thing, that is biological filters we can apply in the system. On that, we can develop nitrifying bacteria, which are very efficient to convert this harmful ammonia to this nitrate and further. So in biological filter, we need to see it. You can make it by your own. We need to just keep one thing in our mind, that surface area of the system must be very high. So you need to use small size particle, or if it is circular, that is more good. A part of that, you just keep good flow of water from top to down. If you are having a depth material, try to keep less deep material for biological filter beds. So finally, means some slides which related to water quality conditions and their potential costs. Then what all the symptoms which will give us a clear-cut indication, and what correction measures we can use. So we will see the first one is, that is hypoxia, that is low dissolved oxide conditions. It may come because of overcrowding, higher stocking density, poor water flow, inadequate irrigations. If there is algal die-off suddenly, filtration system failure, then if temperature increasing, or if there is a chemical formalin by mistake we have used, or during disinfectant or something like that. So this is the potential cause of this hypoxia condition in our aquarium. So what are the symptoms it will show? That if it is acute, means if high, means if there's extremely low DO, in acute situation, high mortality will be there. Increase opercular rate, we need to just watch our fishes. If there is a high opercular rate, you can be very much sure that this is because of either ammonia or because of low DO. Pale gills will be there. Just lift the operculum and you can see the gills. If it is not red in color, definitely the problem related to the oxygen. Then piping, gasping at the surface. If your fish is coming at the surface, it will die because of there's a low oxygen gathering in well aerated ponds. Suppose you are having aerated pipe at the corner, fish will go together at the same. So you can understand this is a low oxygen problem. This is the acute symptoms you can see. Whereas chronic, what will happen? Lethargy. Your fish will be like sluggish, shy. It will sit aside. Anorexia, low appetite. It will not feed anything. And in the meantime, some opportunities pathogen will come. Similarly, what we can do as a corrective measures, that is aerated aggressively. You need to give aeration, high aeration, monitoring ammonia, nitrate, evaluate system and filtration system, then decrease the stocking density. In emergency, you can go for hydrogen peroxide because it is a high source of oxygen, and it you can add at the rate of 0.5 milligram per milliliter per liter. Whereas ammonia toxicity, second point, that is overcrowding, overfeeding. It is why it is happening. Overcrowding, overfeeding, build up organic debris, and as I already mentioned, this new tank syndrome, all these things. So what will happen? I will go just fast because we have discussed this: mortality, neurological behavior abnormalities, lethargy will be there, anoxia condition, poor growth, secondary infection. They will impact gills, hyperplasia, and hypertrophy. Reduce, what we can do corrective measure: reduce or eliminated feeding, decrease the stocking density, 20 to 50% of water changes, evaluate and maintain pH, avoid alkaline pH, maintain good oxygenation, and this kind of things we will use. Then nitrite toxicity. As I already mentioned, nitrite react with oxygen, hemoglobin, and it will come into the methylglomemia. So this is called brown blood diseases. So it is we need to see nitrite oxidizer and symptoms are respiratory signs, increasing opercular rate, piping. Similar symptoms are there. Any cause can be there. So you need, if your fish is gulping, you just go for everything. Then what we can do, we can go for oxygenation, salt to 112%, and chloride ion compete with nitrite ion for absorption. We need to go for this treatment as well as nitrate. See, ammonia toxicity, most common cause of infrequent water changes, and similar kind of things. This is as simple as that, means nothing very deep in this. So I'm just skipping this. In fact, temperature, you can see. So in that, just I just wanted to tell one thing to you, that is chlorine toxicity. Chlorine, so many times we need to forget, because we are taking water and that is chlorinated, and sometimes we are just ignoring that. So it may cause severe mortality to our fishes. So failure of dechlorinated water means, before taking that chlorinated water, you must chlorinate if you are using it for aquarium. Then respiratory signature and sudden death, because it causes sudden death. So you must dechlorinate our this chlorinated water first. So how you dechlorinate? You just use sodium thiosulfate 3.5 milligram per liter, and it must be aerated for 24 hours. In open topped container will dissipate chlorine oxygen. And if there is a problem of aeration, something you can keep in sunlight, in fact, so it will help to get rid of fast. So here you just see one more thing: hydrogen sulfide toxicity. If you are having a base of soil at the same time, you are having, you are putting feed and plant communities there. So sometimes this H2S sulfide toxicity will develop, and it will create lethargy, anoxia, piping, sudden death. The characteristic is that it is simply just if you are getting a smell of rotten egg, you must understand it is due to hydrogen sulfide. So how we can make it okay? That is potassium permanganate 2 milligram per liter you use, so it will be okay. It will help, actually. It will reduce this. And alkalinity, pH, you know how to correct and all these things. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much. And this is my email address, if at all, if you require anything in that. And my WhatsApp number and my YouTube channel as well, Dr. Vivek Srivastav. You can see. So okay.
Nice presentation, sir. Actually, Dr. Vivek Srivastav has covered each and every aspects of water quality parameters, which are essential to maintain the healthy aquarium at our home. Thank you very much, sir. Now session is open for discussion. If anyone is having any questions or doubts related to water quality parameter, you are free to ask the questions.
Thank you for giving this opportunity. Yeah, please, if you have any query, please ask to me. Krishnan, sir.
Vivek, very well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
It is very good to see you as a faculty in the university.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very nice to listen to you. You got a very nice way of presentation, very good delivery skills, very good voice modulation. I'm not an expert in water quality assessment, so don't expect questions from me.
So, yeah.
Therefore, I will leave the questions
I
to be
think
asked by the younger,
Srinath, yeah, Srinath is having one question.
Yeah,
Srinath,
yeah.
the younger
regarding
people.
the
Yeah.
temperature, regarding he is requested to explain the temperature parameters again. Srinath,
Uh, Srinath, temperature parameter. See, the temperature is, see, I need not to show the presentation, I will tell. Temperature is the base, like, it will modulate, it will change everything. As the temperature is increasing, so what will happen? There is inverse relation of temperature and DO solubility. You just understand solubility. Means if the temperature is increasing, DO, the dissolved solubility will go out. So that's why means if the temperature is from 30 to 45, your DO concentration will automatically reduce. Further, temperature is playing a very important role in ammonia toxicity also. Why it's so? Because as I already mentioned, ammonia is having two parts, that is unionized and ionized ammonia. That unionized ammonia, that is harmful to the fishes. So during temperature is increasing, that unionized part is increasing. So hence the toxicity is increasing. And yeah, this is what I just wanted to make. Anything else a part of that?
yeah, yeah, I think there are two more questions.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
from Sasi Priya.
Yeah.
How can I maintain marine water aquarium at home by following these parameters?
No, see, this is again, I just wanted to make you pardon this actually, because these parameters and all these things, this is for general parameters, and this mechanisms also general. For marine aquarium, we need to understand salt very much, salt concentration, because salt concentration play a major role over there. Apart of that, your fishes also, due to evaporation rate and all these things, your salt concentration will increase or decreasing so many times, and the combination also combination also alters so many times. If your fishes are not enough hardy, it may be problem of osmoregulation. So to maintain marine aquarium is entirely a very difficult practice. You need to be expert on that, and we required in fact a separate session for this, because it will not cover this is within this 1 hour lecture to make it
And we have
uh,
organized one means our in our MOOC module course, we have organized one session regarding marine ornamental fish, its breeding
yeah,
and aquarium maintenance. So
yeah,
in that, Dr. Buri Changar sir will explain the things about you.
yeah,
I think this was the question asked by Sasi Priya.
yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, thank you very much. Actually, Krishnan sir, today some of the participants, because of this network connectivity issue, are unable to join the session. This is somewhat means trouble from the internet server and all that thing. We have tried very hard to accommodate much and more participant in the session, but tomorrow onwards we will specially take care of this thing. Vivek sir, you are requested to share your presentation with me after in PDF format, so that the
Okay.
rest of the participants, those who are not able to join today, they will
Yeah.
get a clear-cut idea. And
Sure.
secondly, we have recorded the session. So after today's hour, we will share with all the rest of the participants in our WhatsApp group for their examination preparations and all that. Dear participants, as you all know, and I think you have gone through the minutes of the meeting, this course is of 4 days. Like, it started from today and will end on the 17th of the this month. But on 18th of May, we are having one. You have to go through one examination. In that, we place an 50 marks question. In that, you have to score minimum criteria for passing examination is a 50%. The material through those who are presenting will share with you on your email as well as your WhatsApp. So thank you for patience listening, and surely we are improving day by day for organizing such programs and training. If any inconvenience from our side, so extremely sorry for that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
So Aditya Patel sir, shall we stop meeting now?
Yeah. So thanks to all the participants for joining on behalf of Kamjan University. Thank you. Now we will be ending the meeting officially, today's session. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Participants can click on that button, leave the call, or they can close their web browser to leave the meeting.